Hi, I'm Robbie Lawler.
What's up, Fight Family? This is your favorite MMA coach, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Pedro Munoz.
This is Mike Brown.
Guys, I'm Oleksiejczuk. And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And this is We Want Picks.
And you're watching We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks. Hi, everybody from American Top.
My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. Jacob and I are going to break down the entire UFC 272 Covington versus Masvidal fight card. We even are going to break down the new main event between Rafael dos Anjos and Moicano. That just developed about a couple hours ago, so we're going to break that down as well. We're going to walk through our picks, our bets, and our fantasy plays. And if you want 50 free bucks, we're doing a giveaway. We are giving everybody $50 free, and all they need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com/bets, sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, make a deposit, let me know, and I send you 50 bucks. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, however you want it, free money everywhere. And this stream is brought to you by BETU Play to Earn. BETU Play to Earn is the world's first sports and esports betting game. Check it out now at betuearn.com. That's bet, the letter U, earn.com. And before I jump into this fight, Jacob, anybody who watched our breakdown last week knows that there were a couple of shems in the live chat. They were betting me. They didn't like one of the picks. They bet me loud, mean, angry, small people. I ended up, betting 5 of you? I forget who it was. You were one of them. You paid. You always pay, and I pay you when I lose. Then Chris V, Sean V, I always forget which one. One of you paid. But we still have a couple that have not paid. So we're talking perma ban, all sorts of things going on. Ish is surprising because he's been a part of this channel for a while, so I'm surprised he hasn't paid. But then we got Meet in Duff Fieldhouse or some nonsense like that. He didn't pay. Oh, I'm a man of my word, Angela. That money didn't show up. And Braden Frazier hasn't paid yet either. We'll see what happens. I'll give you guys a few more days. I'm a nice guy, but I did put up that Parker Porter video, so working on some things. I will shake people down for money. You've seen the last name. You know I'm from the Northeast. I will get my money, but let's jump in, Jake. We got a great card. Great card.
Yeah, and I told you, you're being a lot nicer about it than I would have been. I'd been down through. The FBI would be involved. I've had people in jail already. You don't pay me, it's bad news.
You are much more petty than I am. I'm spiteful. You're petty. So, 1-2 punch.
I agree.
People don't
I
pay.
agree.
First up at UFC 272, we have Dustin Jacoby versus Michał Oleksiejczuk. And I'm getting better at pronouncing these names, guys. Dustin Jacoby is 16-5 overall. He's 4-0-1 in his last 5, and he has not lost an MMA fight since 2015. Michał Oleksiejczuk is 16-4 overall. He's 3-2 in his last 5, coming off a solid knockout a few months ago. And we've broken down Dustin Jacoby a few times. I love him personally. The guy's fantastic. And we absolutely love him here. I think you do as well. He's a high-level kickboxer. He lights up your legs, and then he comes down, works up top. So he's really good at chopping down that tree, then moving onto your head and looking for stoppages there. So he invests in the body and the legs early. He's very technically sound with good power, solid volume. Taking him down seems like the obvious path to victory, right? Because he's such a good kickboxer. But Darren Stewart would disagree. He took Dustin down twice, and he was still knocked out. Michał Oleksiejczuk is also a very good striker. He's got fast hands, a ton of pressure. He has power, but not a ton of it. Where he really separates himself from the rest of this division is his speed. He has incredible speed. He's dangerous on his feet, but he does have some grappling holes, and he's very small for this division, and that's where the speed comes. So he's sacrificing some power, but he really is lightning fast. This is another interesting fight. This whole card is interesting fights, and they've sort of shuffled the deck here in the fight order. I'm surprised Dustin is opening it up, but fine with me. I love opening up a card with a fight that I actually care about. Dustin should be a good-sized favorite here, and he pretty much is. He's 2-1. He's the more experienced fighter. He's the more experienced MMA fighter, and I think he's more technically sound. I think those leg kicks early will be the difference, and I think that's how Dustin is going to slow down the very fast Michał Oleksiejczuk. But he will have a clear speed advantage, but hopefully those leg kicks will sort of stop him in his tracks, keep him at bay, and then Dustin could do what Dustin does. But Oleksiejczuk is dangerous in the first round, but I do see Dustin taking this. I see it's a pretty one-sided fight. Very confident in Dustin to win this fight. A lot of people are thinking there's a stoppage. I don't know if there's a stoppage. There probably is. I would say 60-40 stoppage for Dustin, but he's not necessarily a stoppage machine. But I'm very confident in Dustin Jacoby to win this fight. What do you think?
Yeah, it's just, have we ever determined if that's Michael or Michał? I'm just going to say
I alternate back and forth every time I say it, so I have no idea.
Then you can't offend anyone, or you offend everyone. Who knows? But I'm going to say Michael for this. But yeah, I agree with you. I think in this matchup, I actually think that the odds are a little bit closer than what they say. I don't think he's a 2-1 favorite. I think I'd have more like minus 130, minus 140. Because if you watch Jacoby, he is a very technical kickboxer, but sometimes he gets a little too comfortable in there. It gets a little show. He does a little douche. He comes down. Yeah, he comes down with his hands low sometimes, and I don't really like that in that matchup for him. I think he should win this, but if he comes down hands low, Michael is fast, and he can catch you on those entries. So if you're Michael, I think this comes down to who dictates the pace in this fight. Because if Michael really gets in Dustin's face, he could have issues fighting off his back foot, because Dustin's a guy that really likes to dictate the pressure and kind of be the guy, pressing forward. That's how he uses his strikes the most effective. So I think whoever dictates the pace in this fight is going to get the victory. I think that probably is Dustin Jacoby, but those hands low sometimes worries me a little bit. So I think it's a little bit closer than the odds say, but I still would say Jacoby's a play.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, anytime you have the speed that Oleksiejczuk has, I mean, speed is almost more important than power in some of these striking matches, because you're just not seeing it coming. But I do think the leg kicks will be the biggest difference here, because I think he'll just light up Oleksiejczuk's legs, and that just sort of takes away the speed immediately. So I'm going to go ahead too. I'm going to pick Dustin, and I will probably have him in my lineup, because $8,600, it is a lot of money. So, and there's a couple of guys at that 9,000 plus price point that is worth it, that are worth it. But $8,600, I'll probably spend. You going to spend that on Dustin?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I may, because I do think there's probably a stoppage here. But I do also like the more on Monkey Knife Fight. I think there's, a stoppage, but it's probably a little later. And Dustin's not crazy volume guy, but I think he's just going to throw a million leg kicks, and he's going to get past that 70 Monkey Knife Fight strike line. 36 is so low for McCall. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a 3-round kickboxing match. I think they're both kind of boxers and kickboxers. I don't see a finish in this, so I definitely play them more.
Yeah, so I'm choking. So Monkey Knife Fight, I'm pretty confident in the more. We're both liking Dustin Jacoby to win here. Me a little more than Jacob, but we both are pretty confident in that pick. I am going to spend the $8,600 in DraftKings, or at least try to. We've got some very expensive people on this card. And if you want to check out Monkey Knife Fight, go to WeWantPicks.com/MKF. Daily fantasy, super easy. You just go in there and say more or less with the amount of strikes that they have on the screen. And if you're right, you can win some real money. If you're wrong, it's okay, because they give you a deposit match. Promo code WWP, they instantly match your deposit. And if you want $50 that you could take and deposit, come to me. But first, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let me know after you do. I send you $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, literally however you want it. I just send you $50 as a thank you. Next up, at UFC 272, we have Ludovít Klein stepping up on short notice to fight Devonte Smith. Devonte Smith, 11-3 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. He's coming off a stoppage loss to Jamie Mullarkey, who was also on this card. Ludovít Klein is 17-4 overall. He's 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off 2 disappointing losses in a row. So this is an interesting matchup for both these guys. We do not have DraftKings pricing for them just yet for whatever reason. But Devonte Smith is a good striker. He's got very real power, solid head movement, solid distance control. He picks his shots well, which at times does make him look gun shy, but he's got solid volume. And it's not that he's not throwing it out there. It's that he's picking his shots. He's not just throwing things to throw things. This is a perfect time. Bang, there it goes. So He's got really solid accuracy, and right now his takedown defense is pretty high as well at 80%. And granted, he hasn't really fought any wrestle-heavy guys, but he did have an incredible reversal in that Justin James fight, and he stopped a few of Jamie Mullarkey's takedowns in that as well. Ludovít Klein is a phenomenal striker. He's smooth, he's fast, he's accurate, and he's big for the weight class. He has missed weight in the past. That should be under control at this point in his career, but this is also at 155 pounds, not 145 where he typically fights. He's got fantastic kicks, and that was pretty obvious when he was riding a 3-fight head kick knockout streak in 2020. You know, I just mentioned that his striking is great, but he actually was losing those striking exchanges against Mike Trizano, so then he had to go back to his wrestling, and all of a sudden, Ludovít Klein, who's supposed to be this phenomenal striker, is shooting takedowns against Mike Trizano, and he was surprisingly effective. He went 4 for 7 over there, which is why I mentioned Devonte Smith's 80% takedown defense, because there is a world where even though these are two strikers, that Ludovít Klein starts shooting takedowns. And it should be a fun fight. We've got two strike-first guys. They're willing to mix it up on their feet. Both of them are talented strikers. We've seen both of them grapple in the past. You know, I mentioned Ludovít's weight. He should be okay here at lightweight. His weight issues have been at 145, not 55. But you just never know. I mean, I don't know what kind of camp he's been in, and he did step up on about a week's notice. I just don't know what his cardio will be, but let's just assume anytime we get these short notice guys, I like to assume that they're in shape. I think Ludovít is the better, more technical striker. I think Devonte Smith definitely has way more power. His timing should be better as well. And I like Devonte to win. I mean, if Ludovít starts to fall behind, he leans on his wrestling like he did against Trizano, I think that works against him. I think he gets even more tired, and then that's just going to set Devonte up to knock him out because we've seen Devonte's takedown defense is fantastic. So I do like Devonte Smith to win here. He is a good-sized favorite. I think those odds are pretty wide. I don't think he should almost be a 2-1 favorite, but I do like him to win. Obviously, he's had the full camp. He's got the power. He's got the striking. We've seen him with some grappling, offense, and defense. What do you think, Jakey boy?
Yeah, I actually, I'm done with Klein. I'm done with him. I've had enough of him. I think I picked him to dominate the last 2 fights he was supposed to fight. He just got dominated himself, so I'm done with him. He is probably the better striker in this matchup. Both these guys want to fight pretty, and you saw that in their last matchups. Klein versus Landwehr. Landwehr got in his face. You could tell Klein did not like that at all. He doesn't like the pressure. He likes the space to be able to throw those kicks. He got in his face, and he turned that fight. And you saw that same thing with Devonte Smith against Jamie Mullarkey. He kind of got in his face, and what really kind of turned that fight, Devonte Smith was dominating the first round. I think it was in the second round, Mullarkey hit him with the low leg kick, and it was one of those uh-oh moments where he started limping on it, and after that moment, the fight kind of changed. But you could tell the second that happened, Mullarkey turned up the pressure, and Devonte Smith, his leg was fine after that, but he just could not handle the pressure of Jamie Mullarkey. So both these guys want to fight clean. I think they're both going to get that opportunity. That's why the bet I put on this fight is over 1.5. I think the odds are minus 170, but I still think it's an easy over 1.5 because both these guys want to strike, kind of at distance, kind of play that game. And as fast as Klein is in his striking, he's kind of that slow in his defense. The dude gets hit a lot. And if I'm picking two guys that are pretty even, I'm going to pick the guy that doesn't get hit quite as much. I like the Smith's defense a little bit more than Klein's. And I think that if Devonte Smith's able to pressure just a little bit, you'll see Klein fold like he has in the last 2 fights. So I'm with you on Devonte Smith. I actually think the odds are pretty spot on here, but Klein probably is the more technical striker and probably a little bit more well-rounded, but I'm going to take the intangibles in Smith.
Yeah, and you mentioned how hittable Ludovít Klein is, and we have that it's right here on the screen. For every 3.35 significant strikes that he lands, he's hit 4.58 times. That's a negative striking differential for a guy that's supposed to be this phenomenal kickboxer. So
right, and you don't even need numbers because I didn't know those numbers, but when you watch a fight, you're like, man, this guy will throw a fast head or leg kick, and then it's just he just can't get out of the way of punches.
Well, and you said it best. You said they both like to fight clean so I'm picking Devonte Smith. It sounds like you are as well, but Devonte Smith can fold. We've seen him fold in the past. He doesn't, if you get in his face, you just start bringing the fight to him. He's not, he doesn't thrive there. He does want, look at his positive striking differential, 5.1 to 3.8. He wants to manage the range. He wants to keep it technical, and he wants to use his speed and athleticism. If you get in his face, you make it ugly and dirty, he could break. So it's an interesting fight. We both like Devonte Smith, but I don't think either one of us are like, oh, absolutely, definitely he's going to win, right? We're both, he should win. I'd say 60-40, right?
I'm going to go 72.
Okay.
Actually, give me 69.
Okay. Well, we don't have DraftKings pricing yet. I probably won't. I mean, I guess we'll see, but they're going to have Devonte Smith at like high 80s if he's a 2-1 favorite. So I'm probably not going to spend. Yeah, I'm probably not going to spend that. Granted, he's always live for a knockout, but there's too many questions here with his, he's been knocked out in the past. We've seen him break in the past. So DraftKings will drop that pricing later in the week, I'm sure. But the Monkey Knife Fight strike line is interesting. It's actually surprisingly high for a fight with 1.5 rounds. But don't forget, Devonte Smith is averaging 5 significant strikes per minute. So this is probably another more. And you bet the over 1.5 rounds. You agree?
Yeah, I think it's probably a more play.
Yep. I will probably play that. And these lines, we talk about Monkey Knife Fight, check it out now. Play these lines now because they move with the money. The guy who sets the Monkey Knife Fight strike lines has done us a favor, and he keeps the line through our live stream and overnight. But come tomorrow morning, which is Wednesday morning, that line will move. So if you like any line that we walk through, make sure you hit it. If you don't, then who cares? See what the money does to it, because maybe it's a little close. The money moves it one way or the other, and then it makes more sense. WeWantPicks.com/MKF for Monkey Knife Fight. And if you want 50 free bucks, we're doing a giveaway. I paid 5 of you today. WeWantPicks.com/bets. We have 5 betting partners. Jump into any of them or all of them. Make a deposit. Let me know, and I'll send you 50 bucks as a thank you. And frankly, I bet with multiple books. I'm pretty sure Jacob does as well. You got to play the odds, and different books have different pros and cons. So sign up for all of them. Make a deposit. Let me know.
The smart thing, what I did when I signed up for those books was I just put $1 million in each one. That's the easiest way to do it.
Well, and they deposit match. So get your free money, guys. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Next up, at UFC 272, we have Tim Elliott versus Tagir Ulanbekov. Tim Elliott is 17-12. And that might be a surprising record for some of you because he's got some great wins. He's got a bunch of bad losses. He's had an interesting career, but 17-12 overall. He's 2-3 in his last 5. He's coming off the loss to Mateus Nikolai. Tagir Ulanbekov is 13-1 overall. He's 5-0 in his last 5, and that lone loss was all the way back in 2018. And Tim Elliott is the definition of grit. He's constantly coming forward. He makes every single fight dirty. He puts on a ton of pressure. He's got a ton of volume, and he will just stay in your face the entire time, even if he's the one getting the crap kicked out of him. He is just there in your face, coming forward. His striking is not technical, but it can be effective. And for him, he just moves forward and he just gets away with poor technique because he's in your face and he's just throwing punches and bunches. His best asset is definitely his grappling, though. He moves really well on the ground. He's got submissions from everywhere on the ground. And even though he's so talented on the ground, he will make fight-losing decisions. A guy with, what's that quick math? 29 fights. He makes some really low IQ decisions at times. He'll just go from a dominant position to chasing a submission. Then all of a sudden, he'll lose it. And now a guy who was on top is now on his back getting elbowed in the mouth. Tagir Ulanbekov, he's a dominant come-forward wrestler. He's got just okay striking, but it's really there just to set up his wrestling. He does have a nice jab, and right behind that jab is a takedown attempt. Both of his UFC wins were very grappling heavy. He had 4 takedowns against Nascimento, 5 against Bruno Silva. And this entire card, you'll see as we go through it, the entire card is loaded with giant heavy favorites. I think a lot of the lines are wrong. This line has started to correct itself. Earlier in the week, Tagir Ulanbekov was more than a 3-1 favorite. And I agree, he should be a favorite, but 3-1 seemed high. This is now working its way back down. It's minus 255 instead of 320, whatever it was at one point. So it is starting to correct itself. But, the problem for me here is Tagir's an easy, obvious pick because of the wrestling, but he hasn't really fought the level of competition that Tim Elliott has. And yes, he's 2-0 in the UFC, and he but he was taken down 4 times in that Bruno Silva fight. So he took down Bruno 5 times. He won the fight, but Bruno took him down 4 times. And if Tim Elliott is taking you down, and Tim Elliott's in your face and smothering and constantly coming forward, he can have some of that same success, and he could also make this a dirty fight and potentially steal it out from underneath him. So no way do I think Tagir is like a 100% lock. I do have him winning. I do think that styles make fights, and I think his ability to come forward, string together a ton of takedowns, I think he gets it done. Listen, Tim's a vet, but look at that. I mean, he's got 12 losses, and not all of those losses are against phenomenal competition. Yeah, well, I actually saw a meme that said everybody in the world is, not everybody, most people in the world are undefeated in professional boxing because you never fought, you never lost. Anyway, Tim Elliott, 12 losses. I see him having a 13th loss at the end of the night. I'm not 1,000% sure that Tagir is going to win, but I do have him in a parlay with Umar Nurmagomedov. I just went heavy wrestlers. I smashed them together, and I got some decent odds there. So I did do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the obvious play is Tagir in this matchup. It's probably going to be a wrestling match, and someone asked in the chat who's the better wrestler. I think Tagir is going to be the better wrestler. But as you kind of alluded as well, he'll lose scrambles. I mean, he will just flat out lose scrambles and end up in a bad position where he has to kind of scramble himself to get back. And then he just kind of gets another takedown after that happens, typically. That last fight was like a split, but that was just because the guy was kind of threatening submissions the whole time from the bottom. He pretty much dominated that whole fight. He was losing scrambles early, but he got control and pretty much dominated that fight on the ground, which I think is probably going to happen here. But he does lose scrambles, and some of his entries are a little sloppy, right? They're not, like we saw Islam, right, on Saturday, where his entries are just boom. It's just like a rocket ship, and there's no room to, strike to do anything with it. With Tagir, it's a little bit slower. It's a little bit kind of just stand over and looking for feet. If you're Tim Elliott in those entries, you got to make him pay. When he's making those sloppy entries, you got to be there ready, and you got to make him pay on those entries. If Tim can do that, stuff a couple takedowns, win a couple scrambles, he could win a weird decision in this matchup. But I think the smart play probably is Tagir all the way in this matchup, just to strictly win the wrestling.
Yeah, and I have enough confidence in him. Like I said, I think when we break down Umar Nurmagomedov, listen, that's he should win that fight, right? Tagir should win this. I have enough confidence that I parlayed him, but I see a path for Tim Elliott for sure. And if we take a look at their DraftKings prices, $9,000 to $7,200. Watch the dedicated DraftKings video for more insight specifically for DraftKings. But $9,000, I mean, he gets takedowns. He's got control time. He's definitely worth the $9,000 if you think he wrestles his way to a win. Takedowns are worth 5 points each. Control time. I mean, the DraftKings scoring system definitely favors stoppages and grappling.
And even because he's so sloppy, he might score better because then you have reversals in there. Those are 5 points. And you even have even more takedowns. So, I mean, if Tim Elliott's able to scramble and then Tagir's reversing him, all of a sudden it's a takedown reversal, almost every single time. So.
Yeah, so I like him at $9,000. He'll be in my DraftKings lineup, and that's what I was saying before. There's a lot of expensive people in this card that I do like. So Tagir is the pick. Tagir will be in my DraftKings lineup. I have him parlayed in a bet with Umar Nurmagomedov that we'll break down in a little bit. Monkey knife fight. Man, this is probably another more. Tim Elliott's a really hard guy to stop. I imagine Tagir is going to be dictating the pace of this fight, so he should probably survive and win. So I think it's a more sort of war. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is too. I think unless there's like some weird, wacky submission, I think this is a distance fight where it's just kind of grinding the entire time, and it's probably a more.
Well, if you guys want to place any of the bets and follow along, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. We have 5 betting partners. Jump in, make a deposit with any one of them, and I will send you $50 as a thank you. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, $50 as a thank you. And if you sign up for all of them, I'll pay you for all of them. So that's $250, and all you need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com/bets, sign up, make deposits, let me know, and you'll get your free money. Next up, at UFC 272, we have Umar Nurmagomedov versus Brian Kelleher. Umar Nurmagomedov, 13-0 overall, 5-0 in his last 5, coming off a submission win about a year ago. So he's been out for a little while now. Brian Kelleher, 24-12 overall. He is coming off a win over short notice replacement Kevin Kroom about a month ago. So a quick turnaround for Brian Kelleher. And Umar Nurmagomedov is exactly the type of fighter you expect him to be with that last name. He has only one fight in the UFC, but his statistics from that fight are absolutely insane. He had 5 takedowns, and that fight was less than 2 rounds, and it was essentially just complete domination. His striking is just okay, but his wrestling is absolutely fantastic. He does use kicks really well to stay out of range, and then he comes charging in with his wrestling, and he looks for takedowns from there. If he misses the first, he will transition to a second, then a third, and that dude will not stop until he gets a takedown. Brian Kelleher, he's got a ton of experience, and he's a great measuring stick for prospects, and that's exactly what the UFC is using him for. They're just throwing him in there against prospects. He just fought Kevin Kroom, but that's because his original opponent, who was a prospect, dropped out. So that's what they're doing here as well. Let's see how tough Umar is fighting a veteran like Brian Kelleher. He's incredibly well-rounded with clean boxing, decent power. He's got pretty good grappling himself, and he sets a great pace. He's a very fun guy to watch, and he's always looking for a finish. This will be his second fight back at 135 pounds because at 145, he just did not have the same success. He sort of likes to fight like a bully, likes to be the bigger guy, likes to push you around. He just couldn't do that at 145, so he's back down at 135. And because of that style and the fact that he likes to push people around, I think he's going to be in for a very long night. Very long night. And this betting line is just continuing to move. I did this graphic, it's Tuesday. I did it at, noon today? I think he's minus 750 now. It's just continuing to move. Umar becomes a bigger and bigger favorite. I think his nonstop wrestling, constant pressure, he absolutely wins this fight. I think the odds, unfortunately, are correct, even though they continue to get crazier. He can be hittable because he has a tendency to just throw one kick at a time. He gets a little lazy with those range measuring kicks. But Brian doesn't really have that one-punch knockout power. So I think he'll touch Umar. I think he'll hit him a few times. All that's going to do is make Umar shoot even more often. I like Umar Nurmagomedov to win. I mentioned it before. I have got a parlay with him and Tagir. I threw 2 units at it, and I think I got it a little earlier in the week. I got to look at the odds, but I got the both of them together, and I think it's minus 170 or something like that. What do you think?
I will say I saw a fun stat today that this is Umar's second UFC fight. He's already a minus 700 favorite or something crazy. Do you know how many fights it took Khabib to be a minus 500 favorite in his UFC career? He was his first 3 fights, I think he was an underdog. I know the first 2, and then I think he was kind of even money. It took him 6 fights until he was a minus 500 favorite. 5 fights of just complete dominance, basically, and then they were like, this guy's pretty good. And here's Umar, his second UFC fight, minus 700. I just thought that was kind of interesting. This is how I see the fight going. I think there's going to be a moment, because Kelleher is a veteran, because he is good on the ground, there's going to be one of those Dustin Poirier-Khabib moments, right? Where there's going to be a shot, and Kelleher's known for his guillotine. He's going to try to jump guillotine, and there's going to be a moment where it's going to be if DC's comments, he's in trouble. And then Umar, the way Khabib did, just very slowly goes through the motions, get out of it, and then it's just complete domination from there. So I can see that Dustin Poirier moment with the guillotine, because Kelleher's got a great guillotine. I think he just tries to jump it every time Umar and just sees if maybe he's able to get it, but probably not because Umar knows what he's doing down there. So this is going to be Umar just complete domination unless Kelleher is able to land that guillotine, I think. So I don't think he's going to have anything else to offer for Umar.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, these are fist fights. You know what I mean? Literally anything can happen. We've seen it many times over. But I think it's just a very straightforward win for Umar Nurmagomedov. I will spend the $9,600. Which is such an absurd price point. But, he's going to have a bunch of takedowns. He's going to completely dominate, and he may get a finish. So how could you not have that guy in your DraftKings lineup? So I will spend the $9,600. There's a few cheaper guys we'll talk about later that I will also have to throw in there to make up for this. And again, this is another more monkey knife fight. 29 strikes is nothing. Because this is every single strike, even little pitter-patter against the cage, when he's trying to stand up. And Umar at 58, he's going to be in control of this fight almost the whole time. He should be able to get 58 strikes off. Do you agree with more monkey knife fight?
Yeah, I don't like saying all these more because I want to see finishes, right? That's what we were all here for, finishes. But I think this is another one that Kelleher's tough enough that he can withstand that beating. Maybe you get finished late or something like that, where he's just kind of overwhelmed. But yeah, I think it's more plan.
I mean, 29 is not a lot at all. That's 10 per round if it goes the distance. You can land 10 strikes in a round, even if he's on bottom, literally just smacking Umar in the face.
I could land 10 strikes
is a strike.
versus Umar. That's what everyone says, right? I could do that.
Oh, 100%. So, the pick is
You
Umar.
agree? I could.
Yeah,
I could.
Yeah, look at you. Yeah, no, you're a physical beast. 9,600.
First shot, I'm down. Boom, triangle. Bah, bah, bah. That's me and Umar. Umar, I'm ready whenever you want it.
Okay. Luckily for you, the camera adds 10 pounds, so you don't look as sickly on camera as you do in real life. But $9,600 for Umar Nurmagomedov. I will spend that money. Sounds like you might as well, right? No?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
More on monkey knife fight. And I have a parlay bet with Umar and Tagir. Next up at UFC 272, we have Moroz versus Mariya Agapova. And Marina Moroz is 10-3 overall. She's 3-2 in her last 5, but she has not fought in 2 years. Mariya Agapova is 10-2 overall, 4-1 in her last 5, and she's coming off a submission over Sabina Mazo. Marina Moroz is a striker who has a ton of volume, and she mixes up her strikes really well. She has nice movement on her feet. She avoids the pocket really well. If she does end up in the pocket, though, she can be hittable, and that is a problem for her. She's coming off a really nice win over Marina Silva, where she added some grappling to the game. She was able to get 2 takedowns and almost 5 minutes of control time, and she's fighting Mariya Agapova. She's got a come-forward striking style with high volume and high pressure. She throws caution to the wind at times, and once she settles in and stops chasing a first-round knockout, she's got solid boxing with clean combinations. She possesses actual power, which is pretty surprising for this weight class, and she's got pretty good ground game as well, but her takedowns are just okay. This should be a really fun fight. We saw the women steal the show last week, and this should be a really fun fight. This could be that exact same matchup here. It's a good striking matchup between two women with a ton of volume, okay power between them. Both of them have positive striking differentials, with Agapova having the slight edge in volume and ratio. The biggest gap between them is actually in wrestling, with Agapova having the much higher takedown accuracy. Neither one of them are even at 50% with takedown defense. They're both strikers, but this may come down to the grappling. I've said it a few times already. I do think these odds are pretty wide. I mean, 2-1 for Mariya Agapova. I get it. She's got power. She's, got a lot going for her, but I'm actually going to go with the underdog here. I'm going with Marina Moroz's movement and sort of that recent addition to offensive takedowns in her last fight. I say recent, it's been 2 years, but the fact that she added takedowns to her arsenal is very helpful. I think she needs to avoid the pocket, avoid the power. The biggest question, though, is will this fight happen? Moroz has pulled out of a ton of fights recently. She pulled out against Araujo, Santos, Ferro, who was on this card, and she dropped. But if this fight happens, I do like Moroz to win in the underdog spot. And I have to go potty, so you do your breakdown while I go to the bathroom.
Yeah, no problem. It should be short. It's the Jacob show now. Here we go. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Angelo. I think Agapova is going to have the range advantage, right? And she's going to have the power in this matchup. And if Moroz is in the pocket, she's going to be in trouble. She's got to make this a boring fight. Angelo kind of alluded to her wrestling. That's something that people don't really know that she has, but she is pretty decent at her takedown. I think they're pretty good takedowns. She gets a fight to the ground. She can control it on the ground. I think that's her best asset. If I'm Moroz, this is how I'd play it. I'd make this as boring as I can until the last 30 seconds of the round, and then I just go all in for a takedown and try to steal each round. You don't want to get in firefights with Agapova. You don't want to even really play that boxing game at all. Moroz was part of the Ukrainian boxing team, so she has very good boxing. She's got good takedowns, and I wish Angela was here, because if there's one thing that I learned in the past, past week or something like that, is that you do not mess with Ukrainian people. They do not mess around, man. And Moroz is very proud Ukrainian. She's on the Ukrainian boxing team. Those are the toughest people in the world right now. I think they're proving that. I think she's going to be motivated as ever. People alluded to it in the chat. If there was ever a lock of the week that I'm going to make, it's going to be with Ukraine and Moroz. That's the lock of the week. I mean, this is the easiest one I've ever seen. This is from the heart, but I think she can win as well. I think she's got to stay out of the firefights, as you mentioned. I don't know if you heard that part, but yes. I think that she can win it if she can just make it boring. I don't know if she's going to be able to make it boring and just get those last takedowns so you can take her down and there's no really threat submission because there's not enough time in the round. That's how I'd play it if I was Moroz, but that's my lock of the week. Ukraine, baby.
Well, and honestly, what's going on in her home country, I don't know if that's a factor. I mean, it's a factor. I just don't know which direction, right? She may be and
she's fired up. She's fired. I sent you that quote where she was told that Putin to go F himself and stuff. So she's involved and she's fired up.
Yeah, but that may suck her dry emotionally, and she may come out hasn't fought in 2 years. Who knows?
I know,
that's the problem.
Because she's going to come out, and this is a full crowd. Remember, it's a pay-per-view. This isn't Apex. So she's going to come out. This is middle of the prelims with the Ukrainian flag, and that place is going to go nuts. And she's going to have an adrenaline rush, and how she handles that is really going to dictate the fight.
Yeah, 2 years off is interesting, plus with everything else going on. But I do like her to win. I just have to assume when we do these breakdowns of fighters on short notice or long layoffs, I have to assume that they fight like how they fight. And if she fights the way she fought her last fight, I think she beats Mariya Agapova. $7,400. This is one of the people I may need to put in my lineup to afford some of those super expensive fighters that we talked about earlier. She is an underdog. I don't know if I'm going to place a bet. I'll see how she looks at weigh-ins before I actually do a bet because there is so much going on. She may just be a shell of herself and, I can't imagine emotionally what's going on there. Monkey knife fight is interesting. I hate these high lines. It probably is a more, but 2-year layoff, neither one of them could defend a takedown. I'm actually not going to touch monkey knife fight, but what do you think of that line?
It's probably a more. Moroz is tough. Even if she stays in the pocket, I don't think she's ever been finished, if I remember correctly. I think there's just 3 decision losses. This is a different level of power with Agapova, but and you mentioned the betting. I put her in an underdog parlay with another one of my backup lock of the weeks that you'll find out later. But I actually like her in this matchup to be able to put her in a parlay to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Actually, you know what parlay I'll throw her in? Not to do too many plugs, but that BETU play to earn, it's cryptocurrency, and you basically bet online on sports with cryptocurrency, and if you win, you earn more crypto. You mine it. If you lose, it literally doesn't matter. You get to keep the amount you started with. So what I like to do every week is I do an undercard parlay, they call them multis, and or underdog, and a favorite. The favorite hits, and if the underdog hits, great. If not, no big deal. So I may do that with Marina Moroz here because I like her to win. I do think she wins this fight, but there's so many questions that when it literally comes to putting my money where my mouth is, it's a little bit harder of a decision to make. But if you want $50, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets, sign up, make a deposit, let me know after you do, and I send you $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, literally however you want it. Go to the website, sign up. Right there on the website is the claim your $50. Fill it out. I get it. I pay you. That simple. WeWantPicks.com/bets. And that brings us to, question. Yeah.
No, I was going to, about the last fight. I was going to say Moroz also does yell with her strikes, which could be a factor in this matchup. She's one of those people that, judges love that. They love it.
They love Katlyn Chookagian for doing that.
That's right.
Next up, at UFC 272, we have Negumereanu versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. And I made these graphics, and fitting these two names on the YouTube thumbnail was not an easy thing to do. But Negumereanu is 11-1 overall. He's 4-1 in his last 5. And he's fighting Kennedy Nzechukwu, who is 9-2 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. And he's coming off that loss to Da Un Jung, where he was just blasted with some incredible elbows. Negumereanu has had a successful run after a 2-year layoff, and up until that layoff and since his comeback, he has had a 100% finish rate, and his only loss was a decision. He's a striker who's incredibly durable. He throws everything crazy and with bad intentions. He pressures forward. He does throw mostly looping shots, and he just stands right smack in front of you. He relies on his chin quite a bit and his power, but he has both. He does have a backup plan, though, if he's on the wrong side of some of those exchanges, which are sort of just forced muscle takedowns, but he does get them. They're not clean, but he's so tough. He's so strong. He can force his opponents to the ground. He showed incredible heart in his decision win against Kammer and that knockout power in that KO against Villanueva. Kennedy Nzechukwu, I've called him the comeback kid. We've seen him on more than one occasion, like against Ulberg, like against Marquez, where he was well on his way to losing before he finally lands that one big punch to turn the tables. He's very long. He's got a ton of power. He's got solid takedown defense at 80%, and he's never out of a fight. He can be gun shy, though. So he's like, doesn't throw when he should, and then that's how he starts to fall behind on those rounds, losing minutes, losing rounds, about to lose fights, and then he somehow pulls it off. Kennedy's the favorite here, and that actually surprised me because, yes, he's got a couple solid wins in the UFC, and if all you do is go to Tapology and look at people's records, you'll see those wins. Oh, he beat Ulberg. He beat Marquez. But in the Ulberg fight, he was getting dominated with the striking, and then Ulberg was exhausted. And the Marquez fight, he was dominated with the grappling, and Marquez is now cut. And my point is, we've seen Nzechukwu losing in every aspect of MMA, including just being knocked out. I am shocked he's the favorite here. Absolutely shocked. I love Nick Negumereanu in this fight. He obviously needs to be worried about the power of Kennedy Nzechukwu, but I just like Nick here. He's got a chin. He's gritty. He's dirty. He'll come forward, and I don't see him folding or breaking the same as, some of Kennedy's last opponents did, and we just saw Kennedy get knocked out stupid with some of those elbows. What do you think, Jakey boy?
Yeah, that last fight against Dun Un Jung was kind of funny because it started, like, as you mentioned, as the last two fights that he just fought. So it's almost like, oh, here we go again. He's going to get beat on and then come back and win. And then he just never came back. It was like he was waiting almost for himself to come. It was very, very weird the way he just kind of folded those elbows through the guard and everything. But yeah, I saw the same thing. I broke down this fight. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Nick is definitely the play. And I was looking at the odds. I'm like, holy cow. So I'm probably going to put some action on Nick. I did already put a 3-unit bet at minus 175 that this fight does not go the distance. Because I think one of these guys, I think if Nick gets a fight to the ground, I think that's his path to victory, right? I think he can definitely probably win the strike. He kind of, as you mentioned, kind of Sean Stricklands himself forward, where he just kind of plots forward and doesn't really. Sean Strickland obviously can move and shoulder roll a little bit better than him. But
look at the striking differential.
Less
than 3 and is hit almost 6 times.
Right. So you nailed it. I mean, he just kind of stands there in front of you, and we've seen Kennedy with his volume kind of overwhelm people like that. But as you mentioned, I don't see Nick being one of those guys that's going to get overwhelmed. And if he is, he has the wrestling that he can go to. And if Kennedy's coming forward, he's going to come forward with a lot of pressure, and then he can just kind of duck under with those legs. And I think if he gets his fight to the ground, I think that's where he wants to be in this matchup. So I like Nick in this matchup. I mentioned, I don't know if I even said what my bet was. Three units minus 175. The fight does not go the distance because I just think that Nick is able to finish him on the ground, or maybe Kennedy comes with the volume. But Kennedy's either going to break somebody or break himself. He's proven that the last 3 fights, I guess. So it's minus 175, 3 units, and I might play some action on Nick himself as well because I like him in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, does not go to distance is pretty solid because even Nick literally only has 2 decisions in his entire career. 1 win, 1 loss, and the dude has 12 fights. So 10 fights are stoppages. 2 went to a decision. Kennedy, we've seen get stopped and stop people. So, yeah, it does not go to decision is probably pretty solid.
I mean, it's a favorite. It's almost a 2-1 favorites, but yeah. I just liked enough to put 3 units on it for sure.
Well, and I have a bet on this as well. I just did one straight up unit on money line for Nick Negumereanu to win. I was shocked that Kennedy was the favorite. Like, he's not terrible. People hate his guts. He's not terrible. He's not bad at all. He's got very real power, and he's proven
that last fight. That last fight, he had nothing. He offered nothing. So,
yeah. Well, I know it's a "what have you done for me lately" sport, but you gotta factor in a little more than that. Either way, I was surprised he was a favorite, let alone a minus 150. So, fine with me. I took Nick Negumereanu money line, $8,400. Probably, he's definitely worthy of a lineup.
Are these DraftKings and stuff, right? Because they should be flip-flopped, right?
Yeah, they should be flip-flop. My bad. I have them backwards. No, wait. Hold on.
He's the underdog, so.
Yeah, let's see. Talk about Monkey Knife Fight while I pull this up.
I think it's does not go to the decision, so I think for me it's an obvious less play because I think Nick's path to victory is grappling. I think if he grapples, then he can easily control his fight and get a submission win. And I think if he gets him to the ground, he gets back control and gets submission pretty fairly easily. So I like the less play on that. As we check on the
the prices are backwards. Chuck Wu's $8,400, so $7,800 for Nick Negumereanu. That's probably worth it, and he'll probably be in my lineup because I do need some underdogs because I'm going to have two big-time heavy favorites. So, I'll spend the $7,800 most likely. What do you think?
I have somebody else in mind.
Oh, okay. What, at that price point, you mean?
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
Stay tuned
Anyway,
next week.
If you want $50 free to spend on whatever you want, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let me know. I'll send you $50. All you need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Literally right there is not only where you sign up, but also where you claim your 50 free bucks. Super easy, super fast. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, however you want your free money. Next up, at UFC 272, we have Marina Rodriguez versus Xiaonan. Marina Rodriguez is 15-1 overall, 3-1-1, coming off a great win over Mackenzie Dern. Xiaonan is 13-2 overall. She's 4-1 in her last 5, taking a year-long layoff after losing to Carla Esparza. Not a full year, but pretty long layoff in almost
They both
a year.
lost to Carla.
Carla beats everybody. Every time you've seen me break down Carla, I pick her. I picked her against Jan as well. I mean, people just write her off because of some of her losses, but look who she lost to. But that's not who we're breaking down.
She can out-wrestle you. She's going to win.
Exactly. Marina Rodriguez is the real deal. She's a very good boxer. She's got solid speed and power. If you want to see her power, just go back a few fights and watch her flatline Amanda Hebos. If you want to see her...
Whoa! I know you added that as a personal dig towards me. I do not appreciate that. I'll walk off the show.
Adios. If you want to see her power, go back and watch her flatline Amanda Hebos.
Don't say it again.
If you want to see her improve takedown defense, go watch that fight against Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern only got 1 of 8 takedowns, so Marina Rodriguez defended.
But she's awful at takedowns.
She is awful at takedowns, but it doesn't matter. Marina defended 7 of 8. She's also awful at striking. Mackenzie Dern's awful. Marina Rodriguez defended 7 of 8 takedowns there. But prior to that, she does have losses to Carla Esparza and Cynthia Calvillo, where she was taken down and controlled for 3 rounds. But Marina Rodriguez is a complete fighter. She can grind you out, knock you out, or submit you. Xiaonan is a very good boxer with well-timed strikes. She's got very clean technique, but she does not shy away from a dirty fight, and she is willing to bang. Outside of that loss to Carla Esparza, where she was just taken down and dominated from there, she does have her own dominant run in the UFC. She has wins over Claudia Gadeja, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and Angela Hill. And for the most part, she keeps fights standing and outstrikes her way to a decision. But she did get 5 of her own takedowns against Carolina. And if that tells me anything, it's that her fight IQ is through the roof. She was like, well, this is a really good striker, so I'm not going to play that game. Let me just get some takedowns in. And she may go that path here against Marina. And this is a really tough pick. Like, those odds are insane. They're ridiculous odds. These might be the most ridiculous ones on the card. The recency bias on both of these women is way too high. Because Marina looked amazing against Mackenzie Dern, but she pieced Mackenzie Dern apart in the striking, and she's a miserable striker. And then Jan looked terrible against Carla Esparza, but Carla Esparza is an absolute wrestling beast who hasn't lost since 2018. So I do think Marina should win this fight because I think she's just the better striker, and we do have striker versus striker here. And while Jan has had a lot of success with the grappling in isolated fights, I don't think she'll have enough against Marina. So I do like Marina to win here, but she should be like a -120 favorite, not a -280 favorite, because Jan could execute a wrestle heavy game plan and try to get that done. Marina's the more powerful striker. I think she's faster. But Jan is stupid live in this fight, and I might do a plus 3.5 bet on her. If you don't know what that is, you buy a single round on the judge's scorecard. So with her being plus 230 like this, if you think this is a close fight, a 29-28 or a split decision, do a plus 3.5. You buy a round in the judge's scorecard. All Jan needs to do is win one round on her own, and you'll get paid. If she's plus 230 money line, those odds will probably be like plus 120. So you're still going to get plus money, and all she needs to do is win one round. They're not up. That's what I'm saying.
They're not up yet.
No, they usually drop those like Wednesday.
Whoa, sorry, bud.
Yeah, well. Anyway, you get plus money. She only needs to win one single round. You're only going to get those if you go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. We've got 5 partners. BetOnline is the one single partner that does those safety net buy a round bet. You can even sell a round if you want, which is stupid, but buy a round. She's worth it. I will probably take that bet when it drops. I just got to see what the odds are, but WeWantPicks.com/bets for that. Jakey boy, what do you think of these two women?
I'm worried, man. I tell you what, I am worried because I don't think we've disagreed on anything up to this point. This is we're almost to the main card. I literally think that everything you've said, I've completely agreed with. I think that these odds are crazy. I think at this, I have it highlighted in my notes that this is going to be the fight of the night. I think that this has the makings to be a fight of the night slugfest. And I agree. I think that they're so evenly matched in the striking everywhere, really. I think I agree. Marina is a little bit better kind of everywhere, and that is why she's a favorite. But those odds are crazy. If you're Jan in this matchup, it's almost like the Moroz fight, right? Where you just kind of have to avoid the big exchanges. You have to stay out of the pocket. And I know that Jan is a little bit better than Moroz as far as the power with Agapova. But I would not be in the pocket with exchanges with Marina. You got to be in and out. You're in, you're boom, 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 and you're out. You cannot stay in the pocket with Marina because you saw what happened with, allegedly, it was an early stoppage with Hibas. She was fine. I mean, Hibas was fine in that matchup. She was getting ready to take Rodriguez down. They stopped the fight. I don't understand it. But Marina's got real power. And if you stay in the pocket, you're going to have issues with that real power. At the same time, I think that if Jan is able to dictate the pressure in this fight, I think that she also has a good chance. So I think it's moving forward, but it's in and out with your pressure. You're in her face, you're out, you're in her face. That's how you win the fight. But my pick's gonna be Marina because I think she's just a little bit better. But I think this is gonna be a fight of the night. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't do this often where I'll make a pick and then at the end of the week I change it. I almost never do that. But this might be one. Not that the weigh-ins are gonna tell us much. It's not like these women struggle with the weight, but I may. I've got this right down the middle. I may change my mind here, but that's why I like the safety net bet. So once those odds drop, I will probably do a plus 3.5 on Jan because I think she's crazy live. So why not buy one round? I don't need to mess with the money line on anybody. WeOwnPicks.com/bets. Do it. I'll send you $50. Monkey knife fight. Probably more and more. I think it's a straight up war. And I hate strike lines that are around 100, but I think it's a straight up war.
I think it's a straight up war too. Even with the straight up war though, I mean, this could be like more of a power war than a volume war, which is what I would worry about in this line. But it's probably more and more. It's probably a safe play. I think we said more and more on everything.
I see a lot of decisions, even those dominant wrestlers, it's a lot of one-sided fights, but not because there's killers. The main card, I think we'll get some stoppages. But anyway, DraftKings, I think Jan's worth the $6,900. You want to get some of these giant dominant wrestlers in there? You can get a $6,900 price tag on somebody that was destroying everybody she ever fought until she fought a wrestler. I mean, if she was the favorite, if Xiaonan was the favorite in this fight, everybody on YouTube breaking down fights would say that they have her winning. They would look at the odds, that would change their mind, and they would have her winning. That's how close I think this is. So $6,900, I think she's worth it in DraftKings.
I have a little PTSD from $6,900 from last week because I tried to do that with Bobby King Green, and I put him in my lineup at the last second, thinking like, oh, I can just stack up the rest of my lineup, and I think Bobby's got a real shot here.
Well, I won our lineup with Bobby Green and Islam. That's literally what I did, and I still won. Sorry, I won our league. Anyway, let's move on. Next up. At UFC 272, we have Jalin Turner taking on Jamie Mullarkey. Jamie Mullarkey is 14-4 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. He's got back back-to-back knockout wins. Jalin Turner's 11-5 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off 3 stoppages in a row. Jalin Turner, he's a good boxer who somehow manages to come forward and keep the fight at range at the exact same time. He will literally march forward and keep you at the end of his punches. It's amazing what this guy does with his movement. His height does help him, and he usually towers over opponents. He's 6'3", but Jamie Mullarkey is a solid 6 feet himself, and the reach difference is minimal here. Even though he's known for his striking, he is coming off 2 submission wins in a row, which just shows how well-rounded he is. His takedown defense is 78%, and he may need that in this matchup because Jamie Mullarkey started his career as a grappler. He did reinvent himself in 2021 as a striker, and he is coming off 2 beautiful knockouts in a row. But he was a grappler. He's proven he has power, but I would not say that he's great anywhere. He's solid everywhere, though, and he does put things together well. If you look at his losses, he had decent outings against Brad Riddell, who we know is very good, and a loss to the Volkanovski in 2016. He has a nice body of work under him, but again, he's primarily a grappler. He has solid takedowns, good pressure on top. He will ground and pound while setting up transitions or create scrambles, and from there, he does look for submissions. And this is an interesting fight because Jamie Mullarkey has had success striking as of late, but Jalin Turner is definitely the better striker. So common sense would say that Jamie should go back to his roots, grapple his way to a win. Matt Frivola was able to take down Jalin Turner 4 times, so I would assume that Jamie Mullarkey could do more of the same. But if you look at Jamie's losses to Brad Riddell, he took him down 3 times and still lost the decision. He took down Faraz Ziem 5 times and lost that decision as well. So it's not a guarantee that if Jamie Mullarkey takes you down, he will win. Jalin Turner, on the other hand, has never won a single decision. So logic would say he needs to finish or things won't go his way. But I do think Jalin Turner wins. I do think this may be his first decision win. I think his volume and his accuracy will make up for any takedowns that Mullarkey gets. And I think he can finally get himself a decision win. If this is 1.5 round line, I'm doing the over. What is the round line?
Oh, let me check for you, sir.
And while you check, we've got Scrappin with the $20 super chat. Scrappin, my man, thank you very much.
You want over 1.5?
Very appreciated. Yeah, what is the round line?
1.5. Over is minus 155.
I love that over. So I will probably go ahead and place that bet when we're done. What do you think of this fight?
Do you want to bet on this fight?
Let
me win some of my Alvarez.
I'll decide.
Let me get some of the Alvarez money back. Listen, Jalin Turner, I think you nailed it. I think he's a better striker. He actually showed his grappling abilities the last 2 fights, 2 submission wins. Looked great with those takedowns. That Eurosmetic takedown, just kind of caught a kick, controlled him on the ground, and ended up submitting him. But Jamie Mullarkey, man, is that dude is a savage. You mentioned his grappling, even in his striking. I mentioned the last fight could be fight of the night. This easily could be fight of the night as well, the way these guys strike. Jamie Mullarkey, when he throws sometimes, it is to end 3 people's life, not even just one person. He wants to punch through 3 people when he throws. And he just a lot of times, so here's how I see the fight going. I think Jalen's going to have success. I think Jalen's going to think that he has Jamie more hurt than he is, because Jamie is like the most dangerous when you think that he's hurt, right? You're coming for it, all of a sudden he just bites down and just comes at you and lands with real power. And I kind of see that playing out in this fight. I think Jalin, with his distance, is able to sting him. He kind of rushes in, and Jamie's right there waiting for him. I like his pace. I like his pressure. If he is a pressure fighter, I can see Jalin kind of on his back foot. Maybe he tries to go to the grappling, and I think Jamie's able to win scrambles if that happens. So I like Jamie Mullarkey all the way. If Moroz was not my lock of the week, Jamie is my backup lock of the week. I like him in this fight, and I would love to bet you if you're interested on Jalin Turner and Mullarkey.
No, I'm not going to bet this fight.
I was convincing then.
No, I wasn't going to bet it anyway. It's not. Listen, last week I bet I ended up betting $400 against viewers.
How much did you get back? Is anyone in here? Let me check the participants.
No,
Let's see what's
these
going
people
on.
can't show their face. Not only did I shame them publicly multiple times, I got Parker to do that video threatening them.
Right when I said let me check the participants, I saw boop 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 boop, bunch of people disappear.
Dude, we did. I shamed 3 people for not paying me after losing a bet, and then we immediately lost 3 subscribers after I made that post. So it is what it is. I think this is basically a pick 'em. There's no way I bet. The odds and the DraftKings prices absolutely do not align. I agree with the DraftKings prices far more than the odds. I think Jalin Turner is a favorite, but a slight favorite. I'm not going to bet you. We'll find another fight. I'm sure we'll figure it out there. But I might have Jalin Turner in my lineup, or Jamie Mullarkey for that matter. I like Jalin to win. I do think he wins by decision, but $8,200 is a solid price point. I'm not done. $8,200 is a solid price point for 2 guys that can absolutely finish. Yes, Jacob, what?
2 points. Jamie is in my underdog parlay with Moroz, so that's both my lock of the weeks. Let's just go 2 lock of the weeks. I'll do Jamie and Moroz. I have a parlay, 2 of them. I don't know what the odds are, but I put a unit on it. And also, if you say I look like Jamie Mullarkey, you're banned. I mean, that's the easiest perma ban I've ever seen in my life. If you mention anything about me and Jamie Mullarkey looking similar, you're done. You're out of here.
I think he's far better looking, honestly. Neither one of you have any eyebrows whatsoever.
Here, look.
Yeah, neither one of you have eyebrows, but I mean, I'm seeing it, man. I am seeing it. You wish you had cauliflower here. You would give anything to have cauliflower here.
You know how many times I've sat
no.
Do you know how many times I've sat on my kitchen floor with a pair of pliers, and I just can't do it. I can't. I'm like, oh god, I can't.
Dude, it's so funny. So I've been wrestling my whole life, jiu-jitsu for a very long time. There's always that new skinny dweeb that looks just like Jacob that shows up, puts their hand on their ear, and just goes like this, praying for cauliflower ear. It's so weird. I've spent my whole life praying I don't get it. And now people love it. Anyway, Monkey Knife Fight, I think more and more because I think it goes to a decision. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this could be the fight of the night, and I think it definitely can go to a decision. I could also see this ending in 10 seconds. So both these guys are. So I don't know. I think the safe play is probably more though. I agree. I think we're playing more and everything.
Yeah, I think. Well, and keep in mind that doesn't mean everything's a decision, but this is definitely. I think this is a low-ish line, considering what we got here, and a lot of it has to do with Jamie Mullarkey knocking people out recently. But go to WeWantPicks.com/MKF. Monkey Knife Fight will instantly match any deposit that you make up to $100. Take that money. Take the deposit. You give them 50. They give you 50. Take the free 50. Play some of these lines, and if you win, awesome. You have new free money. If you lose, who cares? It was their money to begin with. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. Next up at UFC 272, we have the main card opener. We've got Sergey Spivak taking on Greg Hardy in a grappler versus striker matchup. Sergey Spivak, 13-3 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off a TKO loss to Tom Aspinall. Greg Hardy, 7-4 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, coming off back-to-back losses. Sergey Spivak is a heavyweight grappler who's a much better hammer than a nail, meaning when the fight gets tough and he's on the wrong side of some things, he doesn't dig deep, grit through it. He just sort of takes it, honestly. He has a great ground and pound game, though, with solid takedowns. He has an okay submission game, and he is a capable striker. He doesn't really have KO power, but he does have a decent jab and solid volume. Greg Hardy has had a rocky road in the UFC. He came in, he surprised a lot of people with some solid early wins, but when the level of competition improved, he did not. He's an incredibly athletic guy with amazing power. Don't forget, he played in the NFL for a while, so we're talking top 1% of athlete on the planet. He doesn't have much in the way of grappling. We've seen him lose a bunch of grappling fights before, but he is so strong and he's so athletic that he has somehow managed to put together an 80% takedown defense. He is coming off that loss to Tai Tuivasa, but again, if you're just a Tapology guy and you just look at Tapology and watch the fight, he had Tai Tuivasa almost dead to rights. He almost had that guy out, but Tai was able to grit through and then he knocked out Greg Hardy. But I mean, Derek Lewis couldn't do to Tai Tuivasa what Greg Hardy almost did and did do to Tai Tuivasa. That exact same punch on Spivak, and that's lights out for Spivak. This is a pretty cut and dry breakdown. Spivak will lose a striking match. He will dominate a grappling match. He absolutely needs to lean on his wrestling early. He needs to get it to the ground as soon as possible, not even play around the striking. And if I didn't just watch Spivak fight Oleksiejczuk Oleinik, however long ago, 2 fights ago, I would be like, Spivak, guaranteed, done, move on. But the reality is he had some trouble with Oleksiejczuk Oleinik, like some real trouble with Oleksiejczuk Oleinik in some of the grappling exchanges, in the striking. And if he's struggling to strike with Oleksiejczuk Oleinik, Greg Hardy's going to put his lights out. The problem is the reason. So if I didn't see Spivak versus Oleksiejczuk Oleinik, Spivak, giant favorite, the pick. But I did see that. So you might think I'm going, oh, well, then it's definitely Greg Hardy. The problem is Greg Hardy, once he gets to the ground, is straight up clueless. Straight up clueless. Getting him there is not the easiest thing to do because he's fast and athletic and strong. But once he's on the ground, has no idea what to do. So it's an interesting fight. It's tricky. The reality is Sergey Spivak did beat Tai Tuivasa. I'm not a MMA math person. I'm all about styles, making fights. But in that fight, he just shot, very often. And that's what he needs to do here. I think he knows that's what he needs to do here. I do think he will shoot very quickly. I think he'll get the takedowns. And as soon as they hit the ground, that's it. Greg Hardy's got nothing to offer. So I like Sergey Spivak to win. But, man, is it going to be nerve-wracking on his feet? What do you think?
So I'm going to make a claim here that Greg Hardy is the William Knight of the heavyweight division. Honestly, William Knight might even be a heavyweight himself with that weight miss in the last fight. But both those guys they are what they are, right? They're very, very athletic. They have a ton of power. But when it comes to technique, both on the feet and especially on the ground, we've seen them struggle. And William Knight has an actual kind of wrestling background, where Hardy's more of just that athletic background. But it's kind of the same thing, right? They're always going to have athleticism. They're always going to have power. They're always going to be live for a knockout, especially early. I've already been looking at maybe playing like first round Greg Hardy play, first round knockout, because as you mentioned, we saw with Tai Tuivasa, we saw with anyone that Greg Hardy hits, they usually go out, right? Or they come close to going out. Sergey's not going to be any different. His chin's not any better than anyone else's. But it is bald Sergey. Sergey shaved his head. He looks incredible. He's ready for this fight. Get it to the ground. Just get it to the ground. I wouldn't mess around. But Greg Hardy, he is what he is. He's always gonna have power. He's always gonna have athleticism. So if somebody wants to fade this and play the Greg Hardy side, I don't blame you. I think I've picked every single Greg Hardy fight wrong. Every time I pick him, he loses. Every time I pick against him, he wins. I'm picking against him. So if you have mortgages you need to pay out, maybe bet on Greg Hardy.
Yeah, I picked Tai Tuivasa against the guy, so I'm happy with that. But he's athletic and he's got power, so he can make things happen that he shouldn't be able to make happen. And he's got that decent takedown defense. The prices are interesting. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it in DraftKings. Like, I get it. Sergey Spivak should take him down, should stop him, and should be worth every penny of that $8,700. But, man, he is so live to get knocked out on his feet that I'm not taking that risk. I'm just not going to risk that side of it. You agree?
Yeah, I'm not playing that. And even Monkey Knife fight, I kind of like the less because I think if it goes to the ground, I think he's submitted fairly easily. And if he doesn't get to the ground, he's gonna be on his back looking at stars.
And I actually completely agree. I love the less here. 46 strikes. I'll have to look at Greg Hardy's fights. I don't know when the last time he threw 46 strikes was, especially against somebody who could take him down and finish him. You know what I mean? It's not like
and if he's landing that many, he doesn't need that many. If he lands 10 strikes, 2 of those are going to be knockout blows. So,
yeah, I love the less there. So get that going now before that line moves, because those lines do move with the money. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. Sign up, make a deposit. They will instantly match your deposit. Hit the less on this line before it moves. I imagine when I do my line setting video with Chris, this line would have moved. And if you want 50 free bucks. Go ahead.
You can get under 1.5 at plus 130 for this fight.
I hate doing under 1.5s. I hate those bets. I just hate them. Anyway, if you want 50 free dollars, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. We are giving money away. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let me know after you do. I send you $50. It's literally all right there on the form. WeWantPicks.com/bets. You click, you sign up, you make a deposit. You give me your name and how you want to get paid, and I pay you. It's that simple. WeOwnPicks.com/bets.
I put a unit on that, under 1.5.
Good luck.
I don't
Next
need I
up.
make my own luck. Thank you.
Next up, at UFC 272, we have Kevin Holland dropping down to 170 pounds for the first time in the UFC against Alex Oliveira. Kevin Holland, 21-7 overall, 2-2-1 in his last 5, and he's coming off that no contest headbutt to Kyle Dawkins. Alex Oliveira, 22-11 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, currently on a 3-fight losing skid. Kevin Holland is an accurate and powerful striker who has miserable takedown defense, but he is a solid grappler if it gets to the ground. Other than the wrestling, Kevin Holland's a killer. He's a sniper on his feet. He's got great accuracy, great range. He can grapple really well and be a problem for people on the ground. The issue is his takedowns are just absolute trash. His offense and defensive takedowns are not very good. He had a fast rise to the top with knockout wins over Joaquin Buckley and Jacare Souza, but quickly hit a losing skid and was exposed when he was matched up against some guys that had some wrestling. Alex Oliveira is incredibly athletic with good boxing, great kicks, solid submissions, and good takedown defense. He's the complete package, but his willingness to get out there and have fun has been his downfall in some of these fights. He'll strike when he should grapple. He'll get into a brawl when he should play it safe. But he's dangerous everywhere. Alex Oliveira is probably the better fighter here. He's more technical. He has more experience. He has more ways to win. But he does get sucked into wars, and you could always count on him to do what he needs. And you can't always count on him to do what he needs to do to get the win. I am looking forward to this fight, though. I've been pretty hard on Kevin Holland in the past. I'm a wrestler. I've wrestled my whole life. So when I see somebody with that level of ability and just can't defend a takedown, it is the most frustrating thing in the world. But he does seem to be taking things seriously and turning a corner. He just competed in a grappling-only match in December. He spent time with some really good wrestlers over the last few months, and he's dropping a full weight class. If you take that level of dedication, all those hopefully new tools that he's acquired, and you add that to his power, his accuracy, and his grappling when he gets to the ground, you know, you got a complete package here. So this is going to be a big test for Kevin. I do think he passes that test. I think Alex's leg kicks will be dangerous, but so will Kevin's hands. Alex has only gotten 2 takedowns in his last 5 fights. I am expecting this to stay in his feet, and if it does, I think Kevin Holland will finally get to show people what he can do. But if Kevin gets smoked here, then, you know, he was just a fast rising prospect that never really lived up to the hype. But I do think Kevin Holland wins this fight. Again, another fight with some wide odds, though. Alex Oliveira, he's got experience for days, and he's good everywhere. But Kevin Holland should win. You're a giant Kevin Holland fan.
I do love Kevin Holland, and his takedown defense looked good against Kyle Dawkins in that last fight. He cleaned it up that quick. I don't know if Kyle Dawkins got a takedown. We just saw Kyle Dawkins how dominant his grappling is in his last fight. Doesn't have the best takedowns, but he has effective takedowns, and Kevin Holland was able to defend those. I think this is shows how much the UFC likes Kevin Holland. You mentioned the odds are a little bit wide. They're actually ballooned all the way up there. They're minus 320 now. I actually put Kevin Holland. I wish I would have got those earlier odds in a parlay, a main card parlay. The next two you'll hear about. But I think this fight is tailor-made for Kevin Holland. He doesn't really have to worry about the wrestling from Cowboy. He can kind of play his game. He can kind of trash talk. Alex is going to do the wild stuff that he wants to do, and Kevin's going to be able to pick him apart from distance, especially at the 170. He should have always fought at 170. He's such a lean 185. I think he's going to not dominate the entire weight class, but I think he's going to rattle off 3-4 in a row and really be in the title conversation. I think he's got that much ability in this weight class. So I think that you're going to see a lot of wild stuff. You're going to see some trash talk. You might see a moment where Alex lands a spinning back fist or something wild or something like that, but this fight was made to show off Kevin Holland in a pay-per-view moment in his new weight class to show what he can do. They like him. They like what he brings. He's a trash talker, but he's honestly an awesome dude. He's a really great dude, and his trash talk is more like just fun stuff, not like Conor like degrading families and stuff like that. So I think the UFC really likes Kevin Holland. I think they made this matchup for him to show off his talents, and I think he does exactly that. I put him in a parlay, and I think he should dominate this matchup.
Yeah, I think, and maybe I'm giving Alex Oliveira too much credit because if you go back to our previous breakdowns of Alex Oliveira, I always give him a ton of credit, and he's just not living up to it recently. But he's a talented guy, but he is starting to age out, and this is a perfect fight to see how good Kevin Holland is or is not. We will finally find out. Is he as good as everybody was hoping he would be, or, did he just have a couple of really good fights? So we'll find out. No way I spend that $9,100 though on DraftKings. What do you think?
I could see him finishing Cowboy. I could see him finishing Cowboy. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. So. We'll see how it plays out, but I think that's decent value. A lot of strikes.
Yeah, no way I'm spending $9,100. Definitely not happening. I do like more and more on Monkey Knife Fight.
Kevin Holland, though. You're more biased than me on Kevin Holland. You hate Kevin Holland.
There's just too many unknowns.
That guy sucks. That guy sucks.
I just said he was going to win. Anyway, not spending $9,100. I do think. I mean, we are saying more and more on everything with Monkey Knife Fight.
I know. But I think that's why I looked at this again. I think it's a more and more.
I think it's a more and more as well. Maybe I literally will just do $10 on every single fight, do more and more, and see how I end up. Maybe that's a fun experiment that we'll do. $10, 14 fights, $140.
Well, then Chris is going to find some way to ban that.
You're allowed to do it, obviously, and the lines move.
If everyone does it and they get killed this week,
but then all it takes is a few knockouts, and that's it. You're screwed. Anyway. Check out Monkey Knife Fight, weonpicks.com/MKF. And if you want 50 free bucks, we're doing a giveaway to every single person that goes to weonpicks.com/bets and signs up and makes a deposit with any one of our betting partners. After they do, fill out the form on the webpage, let me know, and I will pay you 50 free bucks, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, however you want it. And that moves us to a very exciting fight. We have Edson Barboza taking on Bryce Mitchell. Edson Barboza is 22-10 overall, 2-3 in his last 5. He's coming off that loss to Giga. Bryce Mitchell is 14-0, 5-0 in his last 5, but he is coming back after a year-long layoff. And there's a few fight of the night fights on this card, and this is absolutely a candidate.
I think that's why he was off. I think he broke his hand, if I remember right.
Okay. Well, and he also
it wasn't like he was just it's not like he's just on his farm having fun,
I think there was political reasons too. I refuse to do this if I have to wear a mask. I refuse to do that if I have to get vaccinated. Anyway, year-long layoff. There's only a few fights. There's already a few fights in this card that could be fight of the night.
Again.
Damn it. Anyway, there's a couple fights on this card that could be fight of the night, and this is one of them. Bryce Mitchell hasn't fought in a year, but he is back to cement the fact that Arkansas has the greatest American wrestling institution, period. Except that's not true because Arkansas wrestling is absolute trash in the wrestling world. It's Jersey, Pennsylvania, states like that. But even though the state as a whole is not a good wrestling state, Bryce Mitchell is a good wrestler, a very good wrestler, who's put together some really solid takedowns and scrambles in the UFC, and he averages over 3 takedowns per fight. He had 7 in his fight against Andre Fili alone. His striking is awkward, but he doesn't even pretend that he wants to strike. He keeps his hands low and just starts diving at legs and working from there. If he gets you to the ground, which is almost an absolute guarantee, he doesn't even really strike. He works for submissions. He keeps control, and he's got some of the most incredible scrambles you will ever see in the UFC. Edson Barboza is a great striker with amazing movement. He has fought every single person in the division, and he's a walking highlight reel of knockouts and submissions. He's unbelievably fast and insanely technical. He's coming off that TKO loss to Giga, but before that, he had the incredible zombie KO against Shane Burgos. And Barboza doesn't really initiate many takedowns, but he is very good on the ground, and he has sneaky submissions when he's down there. Bryce Mitchell has been getting tougher and tougher competition as he moves up the ranks, and this fight against Edson is absolutely the next step. It's a nice step up in competition because Edson can win this fight on his feet. He can win this fight on the ground, where Bryce really only has one single path to victory, and that's just get it to the ground and work from there. But with Edson's experience, distance control, and 78% takedown defense over 26 fights. It's not an easy thing to do. Taking him down and beating him up is not going to be easy. Even Khabib only went 4 for 13 with takedowns when he fought Barboza. And I really don't know what to do here because Edson is the better fighter almost everywhere. Like literally almost everywhere, he's the better fighter. But the one thing that Bryce Mitchell does well, he does really, really well. And he just nonstop chain wrestles. And honestly, if he had a Dagestani last name, I think he'd be a minus 500 favorite. Because that is how he fights. Just shoot, 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 shoot. So I think Bryce Mitchell wins this fight. Edson Barboza, is crazy live, crazy talented. And Bryce Mitchell only has one way to win this fight, but I do think he wins this fight that one way. What do you think, Jake?
I mean, how I'm going to this fight. Arkansas Wrestling. If you guys don't know Bryce Mitchell, you are going to know after this fight. You mentioned this could be fight of the night. This is not going to be fight of the night, but this could easily be performance of the night by Bryce Mitchell. He is just a good old boy. I don't even think he trains, man. I think the embedded was the first time I've ever seen him even hitting mitts in a gym, and he actually looked pretty crisp in his striking. I know he's been working on it. He was hitting pads, but it looked pretty good to me. Obviously, you don't want to strike in this matchup with Edson Barboza. You just want to do what you do. I see this the same way as almost like Khabib and Conor, right? Just get the fight to the ground. I see this Islam versus Bobby, right? And obviously, Edson is more well-rounded than Bobby, but just get the fight to the ground. And I see this as dominant as those performances. I'm almost glad that you brought up the Dagestani last name because he is like a Dagestani wrestler. The guy is just non-stop, and he might even be better in his jiu-jitsu than like a Khabib or an Islam too. And both those guys are fantastic. I'm not saying he's better than them, but he might be the featherweight version of an Islam or a Khabib. I mean, he's just that dominant on the ground. And with that said, he's in my parlay with Kevin Holland. I have a 3-fight parlay. It's Kevin Holland, Bryce, and it's Colby is a third one in my 3-fight parlay. I put 5 units on him to win straight up. I love the odds.
Jesus.
I think that he should be a 300 favorite. You mentioned if he had the Dagestani left, he'd be a big favorite. I think he should be a 300 favorite. I think that it's minus 150. I got it at. I put 5 units on it. I love Bryce Mitchell's matchup. He just knows what he does, and he just does it. He just comes across. He's going to go after your legs. If he can't get it, he's going to move to the next thing. Eventually, you're on the ground. He's on your back, and you're getting choked out or your arm broke. So I'm biased when I say this. I love Bryce Mitchell. I've always liked Bryce Mitchell as a grappler, but I put 5 units on him, and he's in my parlay. I love Bryce. Love him in this matchup.
Well, and you got to respect the fact that he sticks to what he knows he should do. I mean, how many times do we break down fighters that have a clear path to victory but don't take it? How many like Ramiz Brahimaj, he finally did what he was supposed to do, but how many times do we break him down? All he needs to do is this, and he doesn't do it. Bryce Mitchell's not that guy. He knows exactly what he is.
And you know what he's been doing all week while everyone's kind of training in the gym, cleaning some stuff up, still getting in some light work, pad work, and stuff like that. He's just been fishing, man.
A rant of fishing. He went on long rant on Ariel's show about everything.
Huh? Oh yeah. I mean, he does have wild conspiracies about everything, but he's been hanging out at his farm. He's like, man, if everyone's that's how you get hurt, man. Is just, I mean, that's how he sounds. I mean, he's like, man, that's how everyone gets hurt. Last week, what you got to do, man? I just want to do when I'm happy. That when it comes to fight night, I'm ready to go. I'm happy, man. You'll fight better if you're happy. I believe him, man. He's a good old boy. There's no more Arkansas than Bryce Mitchell.
Well, I think we think Bryce Mitchell wins. These odds are probably accurate. They're probably accurate. Minus 155 favorite. The odds are accurate, but like I said, if you just took Bryce Mitchell but called him Umar Nurmagomedov, he'd be a minus 400 favorite. Just optics alone.
I said
that's
last
exactly
week
how he fights.
That Josie should have been a 900 favorite. I think this is one that should be a 500 favorite. Josie dominated. Bryce is going to dominate.
Well,
and here's what I'm worried about too, and you'll like this because I have it in my notes. The only thing I really am worried about is the Elliott Tapora Ryan Hall situation, where obviously he's a much better wrestler, Ryan Hall, but he misses that first takedown, And Edson's got some real power, man. He's got some good striking where it's boom, boom, and all of a sudden it's Bryce Mitchell like, uh-oh, like, what do I do now type of thing, which we saw with Ryan Hall. And obviously Bryce Mitchell, not quite the grappler, but much better wrestler than Ryan Hall. But that's the only thing that worries me. But I put 5 units, so I'm not that worried about it.
I'm not going to touch this from a betting perspective because I love Edson, and I think Edson can win. So no way I'm betting on it. Bryce Mitchell, $8,300 in DraftKings. That's actually a freaking bargain. If you can count the takedowns, the control time, $8,300 for Bryce Mitchell, that's a fantastic price. You agree? Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I'm 100%.
But Edson Barbosa,
someone said he's going to have to strike with Edson. If he strikes, it's going to be a problem. He's going to be diving, and there's going to be no striking from Bryce Mitchell. Even if he's not getting takedowns, he's going to be constantly on your hips, on your legs, doing something. He doesn't strike.
You are spot on that the concern is he could look like Ryan Hall, just taking bad shots and getting cracked in the mouth. Because Edson Barbosa is no freak. Edson Barbosa is Charles Oliveira, just didn't get to win the belt.
Yeah, but
same guy.
But Ryan Hall was like not normal takedowns, right? So he was just kind of doing weird stuff and getting caught. Where Bryce Mitchell is going to get on your hips, he's going to get on your legs, and you can't really do anything after that. So
yeah, well, it will be interesting to see. I'm actually looking for. I'm surprised this isn't the co-main event now. Now that we've lost, the fights get switched up a bit. Monkey knife fight. I think it's a less. Even if it goes through decision, because Bryce Mitchell, if you look at his total strike counts, it's like 40 something. It's not high. He's a very low volume guy because he is just constantly grappling. And Edson Barbosa, I imagine, is spending most of this fight on his back, or, maybe he cracks Bryce and that's the end of it. So it's probably a less, or maybe even a more on Edson and a less on Bryce.
Yeah, it's just the only reason I would play more on Edson. It's definitely less on Bryce. I would play more on Edson if you think he's going to stuff some takedowns, or at least be able to stop the takedowns against the cage, because then you have the strikes like this. Sure. If Bryce is able to get him on his back, though, it's gonna be big trouble for Edson.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, man. I do love Edson Barbosa, but facts are facts. The dude's aging, and yes, he's defending takedowns, but the reality is, Bryce just shoots a million times over. If you want 50 free bucks to do with what you want, go to weonpicks.com/bets. We have 5 betting partners. Make a deposit with any one of those 5. Let me know after you do, and I send you 50 bucks. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, literally however you want it. 50 bucks as a thank you. Next up at UFC 272, we have the new co-main event of the evening. Rafael dos Anjos is now fighting Renato Moicano, the battle of the R's that sound like H's. And Renato Moicano stepping up on short notice. This will be a 5-round fight. And it is a catchweight. Is it 165 or 160? I think it's 65.
I thought they said, was it actually a catchweight? I thought he was going to come in and make weight.
No, it's a catchweight. I think it's at 165. Either way, Renato Moicano stepping up on short notice. But he did just fight a few weeks ago at UFC 271. Rafael dos Anjos is
160.
160.
It's 5 rounds.
That's what I said. Rafael dos Anjos is 30-13 in his very long career, but he is 2-3 in his last 5. But he's coming off that win over Paul Felder a year ago. Renato Moicano is 16-4. He's 3-2 in his last 5, coming off a win just a few weeks ago. Rafael dos Anjos is the former lightweight champion of the world. He did miss his massive payday, though, when he pulled out against Conor McGregor. He's incredibly well-rounded, but he is a grappler at heart. He's developed a clean striking style with some solid volume that will trick people into thinking he wants to strike with them before he then moves to his grappling. It's easy to say that he's 2-4 in his last 6, but look at who he lost to. He lost to Usman, Covington, Leon Edwards, and Michael Chiesa, and all of those were at 170 pounds, not 155, or in this case, 160. In that same time span, he beat Kevin Lee and Paul Felder. Renato Moicano is a high-level BJJ black belt. He just beat Alexander Hernandez at UFC 271. He beat Chase Hooper in a grappling-only match a little bit before that. If you look at the Alexander Hernandez fight, just very quickly, he took him down twice and then submitted him. What is just as impressive is he hung on his feet with Alex, who has insane power, and he defended Alex's takedown attempt. This is just reinforcing the fact that Moicano is not just a BJJ guy. He can wrestle, he can strike, He's a technical striker who doesn't have stoppage power necessarily, but he does have good volume and sets a good pace. The concern, though, is his chin. While Moicano can hang with the better strikers as far as technique is concerned, his chin does not always hold up to the test. And this is a really interesting fight. If we go all the way back to 2016, the only people who beat Rafael dos Anjos were able to take him down. He doesn't have a single loss in 6 years where he was not taken down, and he has not been finished in 6 years either. On the flip side of that coin, all of Moicano's UFC losses are by finish, but he doesn't need a takedown to win. While he is a fantastic grappler, he has beaten people with his striking alone. He beat Calvin Kattar in 2018 and Zubaira before that with no takedowns at all. RDA opened as a decent size favorite here, and we do have odds. These are actual odds, minus 188 to plus 152. And I get it. I totally understand. Moicano does have chin issues. He's taking this on short notice, but this is a hard pick. I actually think this is a harder fight for Rafael dos Anjos than his fight against Fiziev would be. Because with Fiziev, there's a clear path. Shoot. Hopefully you can take him down and work from there. Renato Moicano's not the type you don't really want to shoot and take him down from there. I'm torn here, but I actually think I'm going Moicano, especially after that win over Alex Hernandez. So I like Renato Moicano in this fight, and I'm probably going to jump on him for a bet because I do think this line is going to swing. What do you think?
I think we've had every single fight the same, except for one. Literally every single one. I agree. I think Renato Moicano is the better fighter in this matchup. And I think the odds makers even show that because anytime you have somebody come in on 4 days notice, they're usually plus 200, plus 300, opening odds, especially against somebody with the caliber of RDA. I mean, look at this. You have to give him some respect here because the lineup, I'm just going to go through the names. This is in order of the fights that he had. Donald Cerrone, Khabib, and then some guy named Jason Hyde, Benson Henderson, Nate Diaz, Anthony Pettis, Cowboy again, Eddie Alvarez, Tony Ferguson, Tariq Safadine, Neil Magny, Robbie Lawler, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman, Kevin Lee, Leon Edwards, Michael Chiesa, Paul Felder. Those are all in a row. That's like a murderer's row of the lightweight division or in the 170 division. It's crazy the competition he's fought with. I think that Renato is just the better fighter in this match. You mentioned the striking. You showed the striking. His striking is very Oliveira-like, and the way that he kind of counters, the precision in his counters, his little step back with his little check counters, his little hooks. I mean, the precision he has with them is very Oliveira-like. You've seen how much success Oliveira's had in his striking in his last few fights. They look similar to me. The short notice is the only thing. I wish that this was 3 days notice, right? I mean, not 3 days notice. I wish this was a 3-round fight. If this was a 3-round fight, I'd be all into Renato. And I did put a unit bet on him. I only got plus 145. That's how much they've dropped so far. I put a unit bet on him. If this was a 3-round, I'd be all in. But with RDA's, his knowledge and the way that he's fighting his history, once it gets past, if it gets past that 3rd round, that 4th round, that 5th round, you can see RDA stealing the 3rd, winning the 4th and 5th. So I like Renato because I think he is the better fighter in this matchup. I'm just worried about those later rounds. So if somebody is on the RDA side, I completely understand it. He is still the favorite in this matchup, but I'm with you. My pick is going to be Renato in this matchup.
Well, and just 2 quick factors. Obviously, the cardio of Renato Moicano should be interesting because he did just fight. So he is coming off a recent, and they just dropped his DraftKings price $7,200. He did just fight. But what happens, I managed fighters for a while. What happens is he's right in that window of like 3 to 4 weeks. So he might be back in the gym training, and that should help him here. Where if he took this fight a week ago, I actually think he'd be worse off because you go through a camp, you fight, you win, you take some time off, you have some drinks, you're not eating as clean anymore, you're just enjoying yourself. Then you get back into the gym. So he's probably back in the gym, not training at any sort of intensity or anything like that. But hopefully he worked through let me have some drinks and enjoy this win.
Yeah, I think he's an ATT guy, but he was in Brazil when he took the fight. So that means he wasn't at ATT training, at least. So
yeah, correct. But, he should be busy doing some stuff. Yes, enjoying the time off. But, I will probably see what the scale looks like, see if he does make weight. And the other thing to factor in here is Rafael dos Anjos has been out for a year because he's had a million injuries. There's just always something. He's just constantly hurt, constantly pulling out. He's pulled out of a ton of fights. So I don't know what his body is. I don't know if he's fighting because he needs the money and he hasn't gotten a paycheck in a year. I don't know if he's fighting because he loves it, but he's set for life. I don't know. So there's a lot of random factors here as well. But DraftKings, this is one of the amazing times. So if you love Rafael dos Anjos here, grab him at $7,300 because DraftKings does not adjust the pricing. He came in here. He was a good size underdog against Fiziev.
Which I agree. I almost agree with you on that too. I think that he probably should be the favorite in this matchup. I could see why he was the underdog in that last matchup, but that would have been incredible value versus Fiziev. I might have picked RDA in that matchup against Fiziev too. So I agree with you on that.
It was a much more clear path to victory there. I say just take him down. He's really hard to take down, but you can. Or you can at least try to, and that's how you can get it done. If he takes down Moicano, he's all of a sudden where Moicano wants to be. So anyway, if you like Dos Anjos here, you're going to get him at a freaking discount, even though he's a favorite. Moicano at $7,200. All right, that's not terrible value either, especially because I think he wins. So Moicano may make my lineup. I will wait to see weigh-ins before I actually put some money down or commit to DraftKings with Moicano, but $7,200 is solid. No monkey knife fight, but I think we both like Moicano here. I just got to see the weigh-ins. I just got to see what he looks like because he's flying across the country. It's only or the world, only 4 days. There's a lot going on. So we'll see what ends up happening later in the week once they hit the scales. Anything to add?
I will say that the Islam fight was never going to happen. There's no way that Ali was going to let Islam fight RDA when he's next in line for a title shot. So that was just a whole fugazi to get his name out there even more. But that Islam fight was never going to happen.
And I would have loved it. I just want to see Islam fight all the time, obviously. But at least this is a competitive fight where that would not have been.
No, I think RDA made a mistake taking this fight.
I honestly think he needs to get paid. He hasn't earned money in a year. I literally think he needs the money. And I'm not saying that like he's bad with money. Just
that's how they make money.
He hasn't made money in a year. Like I'm not saying he's broke or desperate. He just hasn't made money in a year. Was counting on this. Did a full camp. Spent a ton of money to get through it. It happens. You got to go ahead and take the fight. And if you want to take $50 from me, go to weonpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let me know when you do, and I'll send you $50. It's that simple. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, however you want it. Next up at UFC 272, we have the main event of the evening. We've got Covington in a bad blood matchup against George Masvidal. Covington, 16-3 overall.
This is going to be me and you one day.
Yeah, no, very similar. 16-3 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, with the only 2 losses being to Usman. And George Masvidal, 35-15, also 3-2 in his last 5. Also with those 2 losses being to Kamaru Usman back to back. It's not often that we get a 5-round main event fight that is not for a title, but I'm super pumped for this. I love that the UFC put it together. I love that it's a main event. Obviously, we've got 2 teammates. They were very good friends. Then there were some disputes and issues with Kobe not paying one of his striking coaches. George didn't like that. Complete falling out. Kobe sort of leaned into this heel character, got kicked out of the gym, and now they hate each other. So I've managed fighters for a very long time. I've mentioned that before. I reached out to somebody I know. You manage fighters for a long time. You meet people at different gyms. And I reached out to somebody I know that knows both these guys pretty well. And I said, hey, is it safe to assume that Covington beat up Masvidal when they trained? And the response was, I'm paraphrasing here, but the response was yes. But God forbid George touched him up on the feet, Kobe would throw hissy fits, and he didn't handle that well. So I don't think that's a surprise for anybody, but Covington would take down George, control him in the gym, beat him up in the gym, using the wrestling. But George would touch him up on the feet, and Kobe would throw a fit. I said he's so tough in his fights, I'm surprised he would do that. And they said, yeah, he's a bit of a diva. So anyway, do with that what you want. But the odds reflect, I didn't give you anything you didn't know already. The odds reflect that. But Kobe Covington, he's a great wrestler. He's shown an incredible amount of heart and grit. He's a high-pace, high-volume guy that comes forward with punches in bunches, and he does not let you settle into a rhythm. His striking numbers are absolutely incredible in both wins and losses. In his fight against Robbie Lawler, he landed 179 strikes and had 10 takedowns. In his fight against RDA before that, he had 100 strikes and 3 takedowns to win the interim championship. He's constantly coming forward, constantly mixing in takedowns with his strikes, which just makes him a really tough matchup for a lot of people. George Masvidal is incredibly well-rounded. He's a fantastic striker, and he's got his own wrestling game if he needs it, and he's got a very good ground game. He's known as a no-nonsense guy. He got super famous after he punched Leon Edwards in the mouth backstage after Leon was caught talking some shit. He's always been a good striker, but he made big life changes after the Wonder Boy loss. So he lost to Wonder Boy in 2017. He took 2 years off, literally changed his entire life, and he came back in 2019 with just a new sense of purpose, a new sense of comfort in the cage. All of a sudden, he had real power in his hands, and he's strung together some solid wins. He's dangerous on his feet, and he can make something happen on the ground, but I don't necessarily see him submitting people off his back, even though he is a good grappler. The pick here is definitely Kobe. I just think the nonstop wrestling is going to be a problem to George. I think it'll look somewhat similar to when Masvidal fought Usman the first time. But I'm pretty sure that the very second they touch gloves, I will be hardcore rooting for George Masvidal. Chael Sonnen said it best when he said that, he just praised Masvidal for taking this fight, basically being like, you're going to lose 3 in a row. You know you're going to lose 3 in a row. But awesome for you, man. Good for you. You're giving the fans what they want. This is why you're the number 1 draw in the UFC. So I love George Masvidal. I love to watch him fight. I hope he wins this. I just think Kobe's non-stop forward pressure is going to get it done. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that everyone kind of knows how this fight's probably going to go. Even these two guys know how the fight's going to go, right? They've trained enough together. Obviously not lately, but they know how this fight's going to go, and it's probably going to be Colby taking down Jorge, holding Jorge, and just controlling the ground game. I've already kind of alluded to this fight before. I mentioned this fight previously. I think this is kind of the Islam Bobby Green fight. I think if it stays on the feet, Jorge will win the striking exchanges. Colby is a decent striker. He can box, right? But Jorge has been called the best boxer in the UFC by other UFC fighters, not even in just the welterweight division. In the UFC, one of the best boxers, period. So if they stand striking, Jorge is probably going to get the better of those exchanges. I could see definitely, I kind of mentioned maybe Islam, his pride would get too much of him, and he would kind of strike with Bobby. Obviously, that didn't happen. Colby's a different animal, man. I could see him going either 100% grappling, or you kind of saw that with Usman too, and obviously Usman's a lot better grappler than Jorge, but I could see him wanting to spend kind of that first half round seeing, let me see if I can outstrike Jorge here. And Jorge has sneaky power, right? He's got that switch shot that he throws that's been knocking everyone out. I'm sure Colby's seen it 100 times in the gym, but it's so fast, even when people are expecting it. If he lands it, it's going to be issues. So if I'm Colby, you just stick to the game plan. You just know what you do. You know how you can take George down. You probably did it for 5, 10 years, however long you guys knew each other. You knew what worked every single time. He could not stop it. Get on his hips. Do that. Grind to a victory. Get out of here because you have title shot aspirations. Jorge, at this point, he got his shots. He's more of the prize fight guy. And I think he realized that. I think that's probably why he took this fight, right? It's kind of the prize fight. It's the money fight. He can still make a name if he loses this fight. Colby's got, real title aspirations. I think that first fight, he was kind of winning against Usman. That second fight, he had his moments as well. I think if you're Colby, you just grind the victory and get out of here and chase that title again. But I think Colby's definitely the play. Jorge's going to be alive, in the striking exchange, just whether Colby's willing to exchange or not. And I will say, the embeddeds this week, Colby is as free as I've ever seen him. He is loose. He looks like he didn't have a care in the world. Those Usman fights, he was kind of agitated going into it. Even with this bad blood, you can see he's kind of up. And Jorge's the same way. And Jorge's kind of always that guy. But both these guys seem loose. It should be a fun fight either way. I'm going Colby.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Again, it's not. There's no title fight. There's really nothing on the line here. They're both coming off a couple losses, but to the champ no less. So they're not going to earn a title shot with a win here. But I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm interested to see if the beef is squashed afterwards, or if they still play it up, right? Because I mean, these guys were legit best friends, and you would think after getting in a fist fight with your best friend, you'd be like, all right, let's. I mean,
yeah,
what are
but
we doing this for?
They said some things you can't come back from. It's not even like they were arguing for no reason. Like Kobe's saying things about George's wife. George is talking about Kobe has wild gambling debts.
But maybe it's still maybe. I mean, Kobe did the same thing with Usman, right? And he was as mean as you could be to Usman. And then afterwards, it's all, kind of the counter. It's all business. And Usman understood that too. So maybe behind the scenes, it's a little bit more, lovey-dovey than we expect, and they hug it out afterwards. So I hope so. But, I hope this is the end of the beef. But if not, I understand.
Yeah, I doubt it. And I don't think George Masvidal is I don't think he'll just be like, yeah, it's no
forgive and forget type of guy. He's not
And the fact that they were friends, I think, actually makes it harder to say, yeah, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Because there actually is history. Like, how could you say those things?
Yeah,
how could you say those things to me after you lived in my apartment, after I paid your debt to your coach that you refused to pay? How could you say? So it's much different. But anyway.
And this is the third part of my parlay. I already mentioned in the previous video, but I got Colby, Bryce, and Kevin in a 3-5 parlay. I put 2 units on it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Kobe Covington should win. Honestly, this breakdown is somewhat similar to the Bryce Mitchell one, right? I think George is the better MMA fighter, but Kobe is just so good at that forward pressure and mixing in the takedowns. I think he'll forward pressure, mix in some takedowns, and he should get it done. So Kobe's the pick. $9,400 is a lot of money, though. And I get that this is 5 rounds, but I'd rather spend that money on Umar Nurmagomedov in 3 rounds than Kobe Covington in 5. What do you think?
I'll see how I feel later in the week. I don't really know. I think he's a good value at 9,400, but I agree. There's a lot of high value people you can put in your lineup this week because there's a lot of good underdogs too.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, it's 5 rounds, and he should get some takedowns and some control time. But I don't think he's going to stop George. And maybe I'll do a math analytics between Kobe and Umar Nurmagomedov because it'd be between those two. But I think I like Umar.
What kind of analytics you gonna? Okay. You gonna do your own research on this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna do my own research. I have a TI-84 graphing calculator, so I'm pretty sure I'll put something real nice together. Monkey knife fight strikes. I just hate anything over 100. I freaking hate it. But he has done that in the past. He did 179, I mentioned before, against Robbie Lawler, but only 100 against RDA, and that was a 5-round title fight as well. I'm saying less for Kobe, more for George. What do you think? Because I think George knows when I touch him, he was a crybaby in the gym. I'm going to touch him as often as possible. I just need to let my hands go.
Yeah, and if you watch the embedded, I think it's the second episode. It's Jorge's wrestling coach. I'm sure you probably know who it is. I don't know who it was, but an accomplished guy basically said that Colby doesn't do anything special. It's just more his relentless pressure that gets the takedowns. Right? He says his entries and stuff are just kind of normal or even a little sloppy at times. Obviously, he's talking on behalf of George in this, so he's going to be a little bit biased. But he said he doesn't do really anything special. It's just more the pressure that he just keeps going and going and going. And if he just has to keep doing that, that's less ability with the strikes. So to answer your question, I think it's probably a less on Colby, and just what do you think the more or less is on Jorge?
Yeah, I like less more, and his wrestling coach is Steve Mocco, Olympian, no less. Former Olympian, a heavyweight Olympian. And Kobe had a great team, great wrestling background as well. Very accomplished wrestler, but now he's at MMA Masters, and he's definitely the best wrestler there. So, but he did take Usman down. They didn't credit him for it, but he did take Usman down in that fight.
Oh, he did.
Anyway. I
And I thought he should. I think he can if he fights Usman again and just goes for his wrestling gameplay. I think he can out wrestle Usman. He should be able to, credential wise.
Yeah, even T1 versus T3, and But anyway, I think we both, and I think most people have the same read. I doubt there's a lot of people saying George dominates. I think everybody wants him to, but I just don't see it happening. But anyway, Kobe Covington, favorite to win. We've picked him to win. I'm not going to put him in my DraftKings most likely. I'm definitely not going to bet on him. Maybe he is a decent parlay piece. I could add him to the... Maybe I just do a wrestler parlay with Umar, Tagir, Bryce, and Kobe. All 4 of them.
That's if I didn't have, I think 3 of those already in a parlay, I probably would have already do that. So
Maybe I'll check that out. Check out our full betting breakdown. We will drop that Friday after the weigh-ins, maybe even Thursday, depending if these lines start moving. We want to lock it in and put it out early. Go to weonpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let me know when you do, and I send you $50 as a thank you. It's that simple. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things, and stay tuned because we will have more content the rest of this week leading up to what is an awesome fight card. Thank you all very much. Thanks for hanging out in the live chat. And
hey,
we'll
like the stream or like the video. If it's a video, like it. If you're watching live stream before we turn it off, give it a like. Yeah, please. I'll say please.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. You've been awesome. And go to our free Discord. The Discord is 100% free. Go there, argue there, do all the things that you do in the live chat, but just do it at the Discord. It's 100% free. And check out the website. It's brand new. One of our subscribers reached out, said your website sucks. He completely redesigned it, and it's awesome now. WeOnPicks.com. See you later this week.